Hello, it's John Heaton. Another video coming from the Bahamas, and going to review the Beatles album Help, because the Beatles, well, they didn't record this album in the Bahamas, but quite a bit of the film was recorded in the Bahamas, including quite a bit down the road here at what is now an exclusive hotel called Sandals. So I don't think we can get in there to film a video, and then there's a private island belonging to the same hotel where they filmed the sequence for Another Girl. So I'm not sure if we can get to that, but here we are, not just a few miles from where they did it, and the climax of the film was filmed on Paradise Island, which we may be going to later, with the chase along the beach and Mal Evans coming out of the water and being directed to go in the opposite direction to reach the White Cliffs of Dover. So this album came out around about 51 years ago, August 65, and although some Beatles books have said that the Beatles were maybe losing their way and getting a bit too stoned during the recording of it or something, and lacking direction, they said the same about Beatles for Sale. So after Hard Day's Night, Beatles for Sale and Help are seen by some as a kind of treading water phase, but I see it differently. I think this album is a breakthrough in some ways, because it includes some absolute chestnuts which are way better than anything they'd recorded before, and although some of the cover versions aren't totally brilliant, on the whole I think this album is, I'll give it a 10 out of 10 straight away, just because all Beatles albums for me are 10 out of 10. So it starts off with the title track, Help, although John kind of not disowned, but he kind of was not too pleased with this track later on in his life, saying they recorded it too fast to make it commercial. It was a big single, it got to #1 all over the world, and there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe not in my absolute favourite Beatles songs, but a very strong single, good opener for the album, and good opener for the film. Then we got The Night Before, which some people tend to slag off, but I think it's a very nice song from Paul, and the words aren't much, but he's on good form, and John is playing nice keyboards on this song, and it was nicely performed in the film, in England actually, this one, and I like it a lot. You've Got to Hide Your Love Away is from John, showing the influence of Bob Dylan in terms of acoustic ballads, and the words are getting slightly more meaningful by this stage, and one can speculate about what they were about. Maybe it's about Brian Epstein having to hide his love away, who knows, but it's a great song and it's a great tune, and wonderfully performed in the film in the London flat that they were in. Next up we have George's, probably his first major contribution to the Beatles, I Need You, which is a very simple song, but it works very effectively. It's not my absolute favourite of his by a long way, but Tom Petty did a nice version of this in concert for George. Then we have Another Girl, the song which was filmed a couple of miles down the road from here for the film. The lyrics may be a bit questionable, I don't know what, they probably don't mean anything, knowing Paul. But they're not being very kind to whoever Paul's girlfriend, well, if Jane Asher was even listening to the words, I don't know, but lyrically not very strong, musically pretty decent. I like it. You're Gonna Lose That Girl, another very strong song from John. So John has so far contributed the two best songs on the album, and this song is just brilliant, and in the film it's brilliant, and nice sentiment behind the words as well. If you don't take her out tonight, she's going to change her mind, and I will take her out tonight and I will treat her fine. I think it's a lovely song, and really well performed, really well sung by Lennon as well. And then the side one ends with another Lennon classic, so he's tending to dominate the good songs on this album so far anyway, with Ticket to Ride, the lead-off single, which came out slightly before this album came out, and it's just brilliant, and apparently Paul contributed the way Ringo plays the drums, and it's a pretty heavy track for its time. And I think it's a better song than the Help single. It's just timeless. It's a classic, and I don't know how much Paul wrote of it, but you can feel his influence in the middle eight, vocally anyway. Don't know why she's riding so high, that bit. So great closer to side one, and those actually were the songs featured in the film, and side two features songs recorded around about the same time, and starts off with Ringo's Act Naturally, a cover song, perfectly suited to Ringo's voice. Ringo would show later on in his career that he was suited to country and western with his Focus of Blues album, and this is not his first and not his last foray into country music, and it works really well, and Paul does a superb high harmony on this track. I love it. It's Only Love from Lennon. He tended to slag off this track, said well, maybe lyrically it's not much, but it's a lovely tune. And actually the Americans had this track on their version of Rubber Soul. I think it's a lovely ballad, and maybe John slagged it off later because he wasn't singing about his all-time love, Yoko Ono. That's true, but I think it's a nice song. And then we have You Like Me Too Much from George, which is simple, quite effective, not a great song, but you can see he's literally feeling his way into how to write great songs, and on Rubber Soul he would take it to that next level, and by the time we reached Revolver he was coming out with Taxman, you know, rivaling Lennon and McCartney by that stage. And even in the Bahamas we have Planes. So Tell Me What You See is next, a nice Lennon McCartney track with some nice sort of dual lead vocal from John and Paul. It's not earth-shattering, but it's a nice tune, well sung, well recorded. And I've Just Seen Her Face is next, and this is just a brilliant, simple, strumming acoustic number from Paul. I don't think the other Beatles were too involved in the recording of it. Sounds more or less like a solo effort with some drum, maybe some percussion from Ringo, or maybe some acoustic from John, I don't know. But Wings did a very effective version of this on their Wings Over America tour, in the acoustic set with 3 or 4 acoustic guitars doing it very powerfully on the 76 tour. And then, as if that wasn't enough from Paul on side 2, a classic, we have another classic in Yesterday, and this was a breakthrough for the Beatles. It's the first song under the group name, just featuring one Beatle and just a string quartet, arranged by George Martin. And at first Paul wasn't too keen on the string quartet idea, and George Martin persuaded him that it would work, and it certainly does work, and there's been so much talked about over the years, so many versions of this song, but it stands the test of time just because it is a classic, and even John Lennon admitted that in many interviews. Then we finished the album with Dizzy Miss Lizzy, a cover of the Larry Williams song, and some people slag off this song and say it was a bit unnecessary. Maybe it's not essential to the album, but I think it's a nice version, and good guitar from George and good rocking version, and Lennon was to do this song on the Live Peace Toronto album 4 years later to good effect as well. So, you know, on the whole this is definitely a step up from Beatles for Sale, and this would be the last album where they recorded any cover versions at all. And there's only one cover version on 2 cover versions on this album out of 14. So next stop, Rubber Soul. Thanks for watching.